So I'm back for another video. How you doing, internet family? This one is about the crazy judicial committee that I was a part of once. Now, unlike most other stories, it's not that I was in trouble. It's a whole different type of situation. And where this story begins is we had heard that one of the young sisters in our congregation was going to be or participate in her high school's talent show. Now, this didn't bother me, or it didn't surprise me at all, since when I was in high school, me, my sister, and my oldest brother were in high school. My mother okayed us being in our high school's first ever musical. So, I figured, hey, so-and-so is going to be in her school talent show. No big deal. So, on a Friday after we went, it was on a Friday night. So, we went after service. We went out, and at the time, I think I was a new pioneer. And it was me, an elder's wife, their daughter, my sister, and I think my friend, the one that I had brought in to the truth, that I had the ultimatum that you have to bring her in, I think she was with us. I can't remember. I mean, this was back in the late 80s, so my memory is a little foggy on that. But anyway, after service, we decided, we went out to eat, and then we went to the high school. So we get in, we get our seats, not too close to the stage, but not too far either. And we take a seat, and we're waiting for the show to start. And I mean, it was like almost time for it to start. The principal had come on, gave the announcement, and all of a sudden we hear all this noise coming in. And it was this large group of kids and young adults, well, not kids, high schoolers and young adults coming in. And they were so loud that people were turning around and asking them, could you all be quiet and just take your seats, right? So they go and they start looking for seats, just making so much noise, trying to make people move so they could all sit together. They were just being obnoxious. Well, I turn and I look at this group, and I know all of them. They are brothers and sisters from like 3 different congregations in the area. And mind you, I think I may have said this in one of my other videos, that I was considered a popular witness. So I used to go to congregations all over the place, from Pennsylvania down to Florida. So I knew a lot of people. So I knew all of these people coming in. And please remember that I am relating this to you from the mind of an active witness. So anyway, the sisters were dressed, I mean, from my view then, they looked like little tramps. And the brothers, one, I remember he had on this black shirt that he had the buttons open down to his waist and really tight jeans, and oh my God. Anyway, they just looked a hot mess in the mind of a witness. Now, if I saw them today, I would say they were just being teenagers. So anyway, they finally take their seat, right? So all through the show, they are just loud and obnoxious, and people are turning around asking them to please be quiet. Could they just enjoy the show? Because people couldn't hear. Especially on the spoken acts, it was hard to hear because they just were being obnoxious. I was embarrassed because I knew them, and most of them were baptized. So, yeah. Anyway, finally, the sister comes out onto the stage to do her whatever. We didn't know what kind of act she was going to do. We had no idea what she was going to do. So anyway, she gets up there, so we clap, and I'm like, yay, her name. So she starts to do her little act. And it was a dance. So for her age at the time, it was a little risque. I mean, even as a non-witness, if she was my daughter, I probably would have ran up on the stage, snatched her behind off of them. So I'm sitting there looking like, what the? And I'm looking at the sister, who's the eldest wife also, and all of us were pioneers at the time. And I'm looking at her, and then I'm looking at her daughter. I'm like, did you know she was, I said to the daughter, did you know? And she's like, I had no clue. I didn't know that this is what she was going to be doing. I didn't know. So there was, I guess she was like maybe almost 2/3 in to her dance. And I mean, the move she's making on stage, the pioneer sister, elders wife was like, I'm leaving. And so we were gonna stay, but then we thought, well, we don't want to look like we're supporting this behavior. So we got up. All of us got up and left. So we're out in the parking lot and we're talking about what was going on. And the sister was asking us, the eldest wife was asking me, my sister, and my friend, did you all know the other people? I'm like, yeah, I know all of them. They're from this congregation, this congregation, this congregation. And she's like, oh. And I said, and majority of them baptized. So I thought, this might be the end of it. Because I knew she was going to go home and tell her husband, who was the secretary in our congregation. So I knew she was going to go home and tell him. And I figured, that'll be the end of it. They'll probably pull the sister who did the dance on the stage aside and have a little talk with her, about her behavior. And I didn't think it would go anywhere past that. So the next day, Saturday, for some reason we were meeting. Oh, yeah, because once a month we'd meet as a congregation for field service at our Kingdom Hall. So that elder's wife that we went to the show with, the elder, her husband, when he was putting the car groups together, he put me, my sister, my friend, and his daughter, we all went and worked service together because he wanted to discuss what went on. Oh, talk about awkward. So we talked about it. And again, I thought, okay, this will be the end of it. Won't hear anymore. Next thing I know is I was at home. And back then, landlines, honey, there were not a whole bunch of cell phones. So we had landlines. Anyway, that brother called our house. Asked my mother if he could speak to me. And he said that the following Saturday, he's like, after the morning field service, we need you to come to the Kingdom Hall. We need to have a discussion. And I was like, oh, what's up? So, and then I call my friend, and she said, yeah, they called me too. And of course, when they talked to me, that also included my sister. So we go, the week passes. So anyway, that Saturday that we're supposed to go to the hall after morning service, we went. And I'm looking at the parking lot, and it's like, okay, why are there so many cars here on a Saturday? Because this wasn't like the spring cleaning or anything, but there were a lot of cars there. So I walk into Kingdom Hall, me, my sister, my friend, and we look, and it's almost like a meeting was going on, because all the kids and young adults that came in, that loud group, were there with their parents, and then us. And I'm like, okay, anybody know what's going on? Well, one of the guys in the group was a really good friend of mine, and he wouldn't even talk to me. And I'm like, what is going on? So I see the presiding overseer from my congregation. He comes out from not the regular room where elders talk to you, but what we used is our B school. And we had a large B school. Side note, we had a pretty big congregation. Our congregation averaged 220 to 250 at our Sunday meetings, and that was regular. That was the regular size of our congregation. So anyway, Side Overseer comes out, and they start calling people back. I'm like, okay, what? You know, they're calling them back. And then eventually they get to us, because they already talked with the eldest wife. They already pulled her back there and the daughter back there. So then they're like, Sister Berry, can we talk to you? Can you come back? I walk in that room, and there are like there are 6 elders there sitting at this long table they had set up. And I'm thinking, my gosh, I'm sitting here at a tribunal. So then they start interrogating me about what was going on, what did I see people wearing, what did I think of the dance, how did I even end up going there in the first place? And I'm like, what? So I answer all their questions, and I'm like, was all this really necessary? Couldn't you all just like pull the people aside and talk to them? And they were like, well, because it was in public and a lot of non-witnesses saw the behavior, and because these people go out in service and might be recognized, it was necessary for them to take this action. And I was like, okay, if you all think so. I'm like, but they are kids. Kids from time to time do stupid things. Even I did. And they were like, well, you know, you don't have to worry about it. We just needed to get your testimony to see what was going on. And we thank you for your time. So I go back out and I sit with all those people. And now, again, mind you, these are people that I also hung out with. Some of them live like 2 counties away, and I would drive to their area and spend the weekend with their families. So I knew these people. So then they call my sister in, then they call my friend in. And then after everybody did that, then we just sitting out there for a while. And then the one guy that was my best friend, they called him in, talked to him. When he walked out from the room with all the elders, he was like, I can't believe that you were so petty. And I'm like, what? I didn't start all this. But you got to recognize Sister So-and-so was there. Her husband's an elder. You didn't think that she was going to say anything to him? And I'm like, and you all were being loud and obnoxious. You weren't acting like Jehovah's people. But, I mean, that's what I said to him. He said, well, I just can't believe that you had the nerve to be so petty that you... I'm like, I did not go to them. She is the one that talked to her husband, and it snowballed from there. It's not my fault. So anyway, that damaged that friendship for a good long while. So anyway, the end being was a lot of reproofs, a lot of public reproofs came down the pike. Some of the brothers lost privileges in the congregation. So it was a trip. But that was the one time that I was involved in a judicial committee, and that was the judicial committee from hell. So me and my friend, he eventually ended up getting disfellowshipped. And that friendship kind of went to wayside. But we're friends again now because, you know, I'm not in there. And he was one of the first people that I contacted when I was having my doubts. And he invited me to come to his place in D.C. with him and his husband. And we had dinner and, yeah. But that was my experience with the judicial committee. And I've never heard of anybody having one where it was like multiple elders from multiple congregations and a whole bunch of people. And I mean, it must have been, I know it was, because the number of the group of kids and young adults, it was like 23 of them. Yeah, I think it was like 23 of them. And wow. So I just wanted to give you all my experience with the Judicial Committee. And even back then, even though I was an active witness, I thought it went beyond. I thought that was just a little silly. Because these are kids. Kids are going to do things, are going to get in trouble. I just didn't feel it needed to go to that point. So, yeah. But I hope you enjoyed my brief little story here. And I will think of a subject for my next video. Maybe I'll talk about how I was constantly talked to about not knowing how to be in submission to men. But anyway, talk to you guys later. Have a fantastic weekend and week. And this is Karen, aka Step for the Escapee, out.